Good afternoon. Welcome to episode 6 of the Fanzone Podcast. And for the astute amongst you, you will notice that we have, it's like 2 o'clock on a Saturday, isn't it? We've got a change of formation for this weekend. Our normal host, our host, Ben, is on holiday in Amsterdam. So we've recruited the services of the pod friend and contributor, Mr. Colin Yates. Colin, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate your time.
No, superb. Good to have you on, mate. And obviously, as you can also see, we're joined by regular host S, Angela Abbott. Ange, welcome again. So, without further ado, let's dive straight in. We've got a positive one this week in many respects. Anyway, certainly for 45 minutes.
Professional.
An excellent victory, I thought, yesterday. 2-0 versus the Grecians of Exeter, who doff with cap to, just shy of 900 of them, who made the journey north yesterday.
Credit where credit's due.
Oh, yeah, good fan base, yeah.
Oh, brilliant, superb. Obviously, issues in terms of public transport, the weather. It's a bloody long way, isn't it? And they weren't quiet either. I think there were a few times that I looked over, I thought it was Crazy Corner going at it. It weren't. It were them. So, no, fair play to them. They were excellent yesterday. However, our class shone through, I thought, most definitely in the first half. Without further ado, Ange, I'd like to get your thoughts on yesterday's win.
Yeah, absolutely cracking win. First 45, possibly the best I've seen us play this season. And I think it was job done. Foot off the gas and just sat back and let him try and have a go second half. But I cannot praise Aimson and Toll enough after yesterday. To be fair, I probably was team. I wasn't on Team Aimson. I think at the beginning of the season, end of last, he just wasn't for me. I think I felt a bit uncomfortable when he was in that back line. But yesterday, him and Toll together, brilliant. Really impressed.
I agree. I'm not sure if I've ever shared with you what me and Sam refer to him as aims off when referencing his passing, which I thought not only his defensive attributes yesterday, but his short range passing, his mid range passing, and to an extent his long range passing, obviously, which typically comes from Santos. That sort of Hail Mary quarterback crossfield to the flanks ball. I thought some of his range of passing yesterday was excellent, and that's been a shortfall for him. But no, agreed. Colin, what do you think? What was your take on the game yesterday, mate?
I thought it was professional, to be honest with you, Chris. Yeah. I think Everett paid reference to the fact that there's been quite a significant amount of sickness in the team as well. And I think as fans, I think it's always easy to forget that type of thing, because at the end of the day, the professionals who play at a certain pace and a certain level, and the bodies need to be in peak conditions for them to be able to perform. And when they got the 2 early goals, I think they recognised the fact that they were obviously had a tough week. And they saw the game out, it was nice to see, really. I'm all for a 2-0 win, a clean sheet and 2 early goals. Yeah, can't complain. I thought it was a very professional performance. I'd rather be bored in the second half, to be honest with you. Knowing that we've won comfortably.
It was so boring,
It's foreign territory for us, though, isn't it? I referenced it yesterday on just a random tweet, really, that if you reflect on games, for as long as I can remember, it's we've been chasing the game, we've been we've fallen foul to a very early goal, and to have that opportunity to work on game management. And I think, like you say as well, we've been threadbare personnel-wise through illness and injury. To have that opportunity to say, look, second half, let's go out and let's manage the game, not overexert physically and risk any further injury in difficult conditions as well, because obviously it was freezing yesterday, and for the whole of the second half it was peeing it down. To just sit and hold. Trafford didn't have a save to make that of any note against a team who are sixth in the goal scoring league this season, whilst they're 13th in the league. Their position in the league in the goals scored table, belies that. So they're a team who can score goals. It was. Sorry, I was distracted by a comment. And Colin, who's having problems. We've got a comment from friend of the show, Lou, that she thinks it's down to the suits. Oh, hang on, let Colin back in.
Sorry, guys.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. Slight technical issue, ladies and gentlemen. Colin is now back in the room after an internet outage. I think there's. I tell you what, let's throw it in the mix. I've seen some. I can't believe there's been some quite bitter discussion on social media about the wearing of suits. So let's throw it into the mix. Ange, what's your thoughts on it?
I think they look adorable in their suits. I think it's what Ian brought when he first came to the club. They were all suited and booted every single week. I think for him, it's definitely a mentality thing, and I will take anything that gives them a little edge, anything that gives them a little extra bit of confidence, I will take. And if suits helps, then suits it is.
Cole, what's your thought?
It's a bit old school, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Bit of a throwback, you might say. I think it is. It's the attitude that you are going to work. Like, even though I work from home 3 days out of the 5, I tend to put, polo top on and a jumper or a shirt and a jumper, even though I'm at home for 3 days. Yeah. And that is because obviously it's a psychological thing. You want to perform in your role as best you can. And I think it's mirrored from a football point of view as well.
I tend to agree. I think I can also see one of the comments that I saw during the week was that it kind of puts you, it sets you up as an easy target. That you say, oh, look at these lot here, and it puts you in a position where opposition teams, especially at this level, when it can be a little bit agricultural in terms of how the game pans out, that teams will see you as as a target to bring down a peg or two, rocking up in a suit and what have you. I don't know, for what it's worth, I tend to agree with it, as in it is a good thing. Cole?
Can I add something?
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't say this on this podcast, especially.
The way up.
Say what you want.
We're all grown ups.
Didn't Sir Alex get the United players to turn up to games in the suits?
Anything apart from that, Colin, on the podcast? You know what? I don't think. No. Anybody who knows Ever outside of what he does on the touchline weekends and midweek will know that he's very much a student of a lot of sports, NFL, football in Europe, multiple sports, and it all comes back to the whole, marginal gains kind of philosophy. And I think, if you're an English football manager or a football manager full stop, why wouldn't you, take a leaf out of a manager's book such as Ferguson, etc. Do you know what
it's like? Have you seen the film? Have you seen the film Coach Carter?
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, that's what he does. He gets them to turn up in suits, doesn't he, every day?
Yeah.
I think you got to look at it. You got to look at it as well from Everton. His backroom staff must have assessed the mindset and the mentality of the players that they've got in the squad, because I think these days, especially the younger generation, might not be comfortable in knocking up his suit. And he obviously has looked at his players and looked at the personalities and looked at their offering and what their attitude towards the 3 o'clock kickoff is on a Saturday, and he feels that they'll be comfortable in that type of scenario. I think we've got a lot of leaders in the team in terms of, like, Dempsey, for example, was captain previously. You know, Santos is a captain. Kieran Lee stepped up yesterday. We've got obviously Gethin Jones normally, so we have got quite a few, not as many seniors as I would hope, really, in terms of leadership, but certainly leaders. And obviously the likes of Conor Bradley and the lad at City, James Trafford, obviously they've had proper upbringing, schooling upbringing, so you'd think that they've got the right attitudes towards that kind of attire, if that makes any sense.
It does, and I think a lot of people have looked at it from the perspective that maybe it's been, you know, you will wear suits, you will do this, but it's never going to be that, is it? It's never going to be that. I just wish that some of them had learned to tie a knot proper.
I can't tie a knot, to be honest. I don't like
it's either half Windsor or full Windsor. I mean, there's only really 2 options, but to see them, you can never see your top bottom. But I am old school. But I think
no comment, Chris. No comment.
Old. no school necessary.
Just old.
Yeah, exactly. But I think and thanks, Lou, for dropping that topical hot potato into the mix. I think it's worthwhile looking at it and addressing it. It doesn't, it's not going to be the difference between us going up or not, or is it? You never know.
Could be. Yeah.
That's what marginal gains are all about. I think it goes back to what was a chap called who coached the cycling team, the Team Sky. Is it Brailsford? He's very much
cycling, as you can
nor do I, as you can probably tell. But that's where it all came from. The whole sports psychology, incremental gains. So you make multiple percentage gains in different areas that contribute to a bigger gain. And I think it's always been about sports psychology. Anyway, let's not get too deep. We don't want our viewers pulling up and lying on our chaise longue, as it were, for an afternoon of deep psychological discussion, because you're not going to get it, frankly. So what I found interesting, and I think something that we should discuss again today, is man of the match. I don't think I've ever seen so many different names brought up across Twitter and social media generally, and in conversation about who they saw as man of the match yesterday, which obviously, is a massive positive, that it shows that everybody performed well in their role. But it was so broad. I mean, I think just to sum it up, that the official website didn't include Owen Toll.
Madness.
Which I exactly agree with you. Especially when you consider that the Bolton News poll, Toll was clearly man of the match according to the people who voted, with 34%. So I think that just, I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong, but I think it summarises the point really well, that, 2 of our most respected views in terms of, social media or whatever, completely differently as well. So, Ange, for you, who was your man of the match yesterday and why?
Absolutely Owen Toll. I think he's grown in the couple of games you've seen, from the first Papa John's match he played to yesterday. Oh my God, that lad's grafted. He was defensively solid. He was getting to the byline before the attacking players. He did that run he did Lovely. It was lovely to see.
Mm.
I think his passing is excellent. For me, he's just one to watch, and we'd be stupid to drop him. I think because can he not play? He can play a couple of positions across the back, can't he? He's not.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to slot into one of them when Rico's back. He needs to still be in that squad. For me.
Yeah. I think
so. Yeah, man of the match, Owen Toll.
Yeah, and as Lou has just quite rightly said, all kudos and credit to Dyler for
finding him. Yeah,
doing his bit from a scouting perspective in the League of Ireland. It can't be easy. Can't be easy because obviously the level that they play at over there is quite a way away even from League One.
But I think, when you're Owen Doyle and you're playing against these players, don't you, that he's got something, there's something in this lad. And we've already seen in 4 or whatever matches it is that he potentially, you've shared it.
I appreciate that I've already mentioned this, but I've only just worked out which button to press to get it to come up like that. So,
there it is.
Louise related to our former manager, or is it just like onions?
I don't think it's a Keith Hill reference. I suppose it is a Keith Hill reference, isn't it? Yeah. It's got to be.
Knowing Lou, it will be a Keith Hill reference.
Colin, your man of the match?
My man of the match yesterday was it kind of goes back to what we talked about off with regards to the attacking prowess of the left-hand side of the pitch. I thought George Johnson yesterday was fantastic, to be honest with you. I'm a massive advocate of his. I think he allows us to play the way Ian Evatt wants us to play. I also feel that, going back to Ange talking about Owen Toll, I think Evatt obviously sees him as the natural replacement, in my eyes, for Gethin Jones long term, as part of that 3 or 5 or however you want to look at from a defensive standpoint. I think the fact that Owen Toll yesterday was confident enough to be able to go on them mazy runs and play them passes that defenders don't always naturally want to play shows and highlights what Evatt must see in him from a long-term perspective. Because I think despite Gethin Jones's criticisms, from an attacking point of view, he does offer quite a lot and certainly supports Conor Bradley. So I think that's how he sees Owen Toll. But going to the left-hand side, I think George Johnson is exactly what Ian Evatt wants from a left-sided centre-half. But I read the game very well. His run for the first, I think it was the first goal. Was it the first goal he set up? Fantastic. And to think that's from a left-sided centre-half, if someone's watching that from an Exeter point of view...
Sorry, I beg your pardon. It was the second, wasn't it?
Second one, was it? Sorry. Even so, there's the second goal that we scored. If you're looking at that from an Exeter point of view, watching that highlights, you're probably thinking, well, that was a good ball, that was a good run, and not even knowing that it's a left-sided centre-half. So that kind of shows you and highlights to you what he offers from attacking as well as defensively. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't always have good games, and I think he'll probably admit to himself that there's areas of his game that needs to improve, and I'm pretty sure that he is improving.
He's only 23, isn't he? I think,
exactly.
I think you forget that sometimes.
You do forget how young he is.
You forget the fact that he is only young. We have got quite a young squad, but also you forget that we are in the third tier of English football. So the players that play for us aren't, what everybody seems to want to expect because they're watching Premier League highlights or Champions League highlights on the phone or whatever it might be. They are third tier footballers for a reason at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong, some of them will, because of their age, in time probably play at the higher levels, hopefully with us, some of them. But at the moment, the third tier players for a reason, aren't they? But from a positive point of view, George Johnson, I like that a lot.
I think even as a support, as we all are, as supporters of a League One football club, do we all watch other League One games of in any volume. Well, for one, you don't really get the opportunity because of the limitations of live football. Obviously you get the EFL highlights at the weekend, but the highlights, we don't see 90 minutes, regular 90 minutes of other teams in League One. So obviously, if you look at it from like you say, from a measurement point of view, how good are we versus, again, in comparison to this team, we've really not got that sort of visibility, have we? So it is hard. But I think it's been a topic on the pod a few times that too much emphasis is on that right side. And
understandable though, Chris, given the lad who plays on the right side.
He's all right.
Get why that is, but
not bad.
He's all right, isn't he? I think he has affected his game. I think the last few weeks have seen that his decision making in the final third. For anybody with any doubt, we're talking about Colin Bradley. He's an exceptional player. You can see that every week. But I think the last few weeks, it looks to have taken his toll. Whether it's we don't see the data, but from an energy perspective and an output perspective, it's not really been as impactful as it was when he first came in. Yesterday, Jesus, I thought he was back to his absolute glowing best. He was fantastic, and I think that is in large part down to what you just touched on, Colin, in terms of that equilibrium on the pitch and having that balance. It's so important, and it's obviously something that Evert's been working on, switching that side and using different personnel back. And I think, I for what it's worth, I agree with Ange. I thought Toll was phenomenal, a player that we've not mentioned. Well, we did earlier, but not in the context of man of the match, which was Aimson. Again, who was excellent. There's so many that you can look at yesterday who really stepped up and put a shout in for, when that captain's handband was getting Andy Wren when the substitute, it could have been anybody on that pitch. There was leaders on that pitch, and that's something where we've struggled in the past.
Did that go to George Johnson? Curiosity?
Yeah.
I think it did, didn't it?
Yeah.
That shows what he offers from a leadership point of view as well. I see people, not always a massive fan of his, but I just think he's a very, very much a modern defender.
He is. He's very intelligent.
I won't put him in the middle of I won't put him in the middle of a 3 or a 5, of course, but certainly not left side.
No, he's not robust, is he? He's not your stereotypical centre half, big and burly. He uses his brain to compensate for that. I think you're right, and I think he's grounding as well. Played in Europe, Liverpool, and I won't mention the other club, but
One Day Road.
Yeah,
he played for Feyenoord. Did he?
Feyenoord, that's right.
Feyenoord, yeah.
So I think with that kind of grounding, you get a different view on the way that the game's managed and the way that it's done tactically. And I think he shows that. Very, very intelligent player. I think we were talking off air earlier. Colin teased you up for that pearl that you came up with earlier, based on where our best attacking options normally come from and where they came from yesterday.
Yeah, I had the stats up earlier. It was majority down the left, so 41% of our attacks came down the left side yesterday, and 33% came down the right. Now, I'm not a massive stat person, really, personally, but I just thought that was quite an interesting one, because I think we always put so much emphasis on young Connor, and I think Johnson and Idale worked very well yesterday down the left side, which was nice. I think helped by the floating around of Sheehan and Kieran Lee as well, to offer that kind of support. I think they both kind of navigated towards both sides, of left and right, but certainly helped Idale from an attacking point of view.
Also had a brilliant match. Idale yesterday had a solid match as well.
It accommodate, and it's obviously bloody hell. We've unpacked this so many times, but it opens up the opportunity for Dapo to roam as well. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're starting to see what a frightening prospect that lad is. With, you know, you think back just a few weeks and the conversation was about him being sat on the bench, and now, you know,
the thing is with Dapo, I think if he gets put in that position where, sorry to interject, Chris,
no.
If he gets put in that position where he's on the bench and he's not in the team, I think listening to him speak, obviously reading up on him as an individual and what the career path he's gone down, is quite clearly a very, very intelligent lad.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have thought, given that if he was relegated to the bench, he would sulk and, you know, sit in his hands and not be out. He'd want to study his game. He'd want to understand how and why he isn't in the team and what he can improve on. And I think he's even said it. I think obviously playing as a number 9, it's new to him, but he wants to learn that role. And it's a very, you know, it's a difficult position to play. I mean, personally, I'd love to see him in a free role, left, right, middle, wherever he wants to go, literally ripping teams apart. Yeah. But obviously you need a structure, don't you? But, you know, and he's obviously had a conversation with Everett, and he's working very hard on that role. And I think he's able to work hard and understand, because he's intelligent enough to understand what's expected of him as a footballer, if that makes sense.
I think you're right. I think the comparison is obviously between him and, you know, and Sadlier, two very attack-minded, effective attack-minded players. And, you know, there's this whole conversation piece that's been going on for weeks. Why are they both on the bench, as it was just a few weeks ago? And we don't get to see what goes on behind the scenes, the reaction of the player to being told that you'll be on the bench this week, and how that fits with the whole team dynamic. And I think you're right. You see it. You see it on the Inside Match Day videos. He's always buoyant. He's always, you know, he's always you know, going to players who've played well and giving them a hug, and, you know, it's just the whole vibe that Dapo gives off in that respect from a mentality point of view. But I think there's a bigger picture that we don't always see. But I think it showed yesterday what's being done to open that up and allow him in and to play that role and not be on the bench, most importantly. One thing that we've not, because obviously we're getting closer to January now, we've not in previous pods spoken about transfer gossip.
I hate that word.
Well, gossip or transfer?
Gossip.
Gossip. It is, isn't it?
It's all bullshit, isn't it, really? Like,
yeah. There's no swearing on this pod.
Sorry.
The rumour mill.
Rumour mill. No, I just don't like gossip.
No,
but,
it's not. It's speculation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, but it's come from a source that some people might agree with and some people won't. And I'll keep it at that. Danny Ward at Huddersfield, obviously a connection to the club. Someone who's done the business of scoring goals in the Championship. Like I say, obviously there's an affiliation with Bolton already. I mentioned it earlier as a development project. It's probably not. It's 31, but if you look at it based on players like Bodvarsson, who, you know, is a very mature centre forward, he's had to relearn. He's had to understand the way that Everett expects us to play, and it's different to what he's expected before. He said it himself when he's been, you know, when he was at Millwall, at Wolves, whatever. So anyway, Danny Ward. What are your thoughts, Ange, if you have any, on that?
I think we briefly spoke about this morning, and I've other than looking up stats, I couldn't comment because I've not watched him, I've not seen him. Obviously, I think somebody had made comment that bit of a one-season wonder when you look back. He's not. I think someone compared him to Cole Stockton. I always go back to that one, don't we?
Yeah.
With his stats, but for me, stats are half a story, aren't they? I'm the same as you, Cole. I'm not a stat person at all, and we know that sometimes people or players aren't happy at clubs, or they're not getting the service, or there's so many other aspects to the game than just getting on that pitch and scoring a goal. And I think personally, if Everett sees something in him, then welcome to the club.
I think I'd always counter that with two things in terms of stats. I'll come on to you in a sec, Cole. Sorry, I didn't get off.
Topic. I'm looking. Sorry, despite the fact that Andrew said I'm not into stats, I'm not. But I'm actually.
You look at stats, aren't you?
I've got my iPad here, and I'm actually looking at his stats. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
I would always counter that argument in terms of, you know, and I'm guilty of it. I do it. What did he score last season? What did he score season before? You know, whatever it might be. James Trafford, prior to joining us, his record at Accrington, you wouldn't have touched him.
It was awful. Yeah, it was awful.
Same with Bodvarsson. But the word I would always use to counter it always is Markham. Simple.
Yeah. He knows his onions.
I don't think he gets mentioned enough in terms of recruitment because he's key to it. Colin, go on. Sorry, you.
I think he'd be an excellent signing, Chris, at this level. I'd be surprised at 32, according to Wikipedia, he is now 32.
Right.
I'd be surprised if he would drop to League One at 30, 31, 32-year-old, because he's proven in the Championship scoring goals. He scored, according to Wikipedia, he scored 17 goals in 62 games in the Championship for Huddersfield. He joined the club in 2020. What we know, 22. So yeah, he didn't play for him in the Prem, did he? No. Did a little stint in the Prem, didn't he? Then what? But even so, Championship was a very, very good level, and he's to score a goal every 3 games, something like that. Pretty good, really. And as well, he doesn't always play as a number 9 or a centre forward, in inverted commas. He plays sometimes off the left as well, or he has done for Huddersfield especially. Prior to that, Cardiff scored 12 in 60, similar kind of record. And then Rotherham 18 in 90, again, similar kind of record. So, yeah.
But if you pair that with Dion, you couldn't. It's a decent turn, isn't it, between the two?
Yeah. Well, Dion, did he get 20 in Accrington?
18 in the league or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But he's done that in League One, Dion, hasn't he? And you're talking about Championship stats there. And if we need to, it's different ball game. I don't know how many of our players now, honestly, would be able to cut it in the Championship. It's that level up again. Look at how Wigan got on last season with League One players. They've got promoted and they're struggling. Yeah, it's no coincidence. It's a different ball game.
I think you're right. I agree with that.
To get if we manage to get him on board as a goal scorer, then we do very well. I'd like him to replace Mr. 20 goals, because I don't think he's going to be a player that's going to be able to take us to the next level.
Where was he yesterday?
He will. I caught him on the socials before on Twitter. He was on one of the videos, but he obviously wasn't in the squad, was he? So,
yeah. The question was asked of Everett. Was it illness? Because obviously we've had a lot of that for a few weeks now. It wasn't illness. Seemingly, it was just rest.
Yeah, Bakayoko at this level,
he played a lot.
He'll score. Bakayoko will score goals, and he did do for us last season. But obviously, he's a last 20-minute man, and I don't think he's a starter. And you need, I think you need all the players in your team who are going to could start at any given time. And I'm not confident with him leading the line personally.
Yeah, I think Andy's point here that I've just popped up, Cole, kind of agrees with that. I struggle with the Bodvarsson thing, because I think this season particularly, when you measure it against the tail end of last season, when you saw him play regularly, he was phenomenal. This season, it's just not really started for Bodvarsson. It's been obviously the most recent injury being his broken nose, and then prior to that, other injuries. It's been very, very stop-start. He's a player transformed since he's come to this club, and I think that's very much, you talk about what Ange was speaking about earlier about player mentality and where they are currently versus where they were previously versus where they are now, and how accepting the fans are of them, how welcome they are, how settled they are. It's what you can get out of that player. So definitely we'd back her, but not so much with Bodvarsson. I think there's definitely a work in progress there. And we have a comment very, very similar to what I've just made from not all of us ganging up on you, Andy. That's actually from Ben, who is away on holiday at the moment, and obviously not having that much of an holiday. He's making comments on a podcast, but it's very similar to what I've just said. We're not ganging up on you, Andy. I think you made a good point, mate.
Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and obviously, he hasn't scored goals this season. No. If you're looking at it like that's this season, he hasn't.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But if you look at it the call that day, he hasn't had that level of consistency to be able to score goals because he's been in and out for various reasons.
And he's just not looked as sharp, has he? I mean, you think back the game.
No, he's not.
With Fleetwood at home at the end of last season, and we brought him on, and Jesus Christ, he was a machine. I mean, what he did at the end of that game, he was phenomenal. Doncaster away last season, I think that's probably peak Bodvarsson that we saw there, and he was amazing. And I think that's there in him. He's certainly not past it. There's a lot more to come.
No, it's an old. Sorry, before you read the next one, it's an old saying in it, but forward's a goal scorer. It's on. They play off confidence, don't they? And if he's not playing, he's not going to have confidence, and therefore he's not going to score as many goals. Like
exactly.
And he's had niggles. Yeah, he's had niggles. He's not been fully fit. They'll be conscious that they don't want to make these niggles worse. And I am a big Bod fan. Not so much. I think Backer we could lose, but I am a Bod fan.
Yeah. I think what Andy's saying, I think we're all in agreement with that.
Yeah.
It is. And I think it's probably why Dion's copped for so much flack, because the emphasis has been
it's all on him,
leveled on his shoulders.
Yeah.
What's he on track for? What's he done this season in terms of his output? Yeah, could he have scored more? Yeah, of course he could. Would he be playing for us if he'd scored more? Probably not.
No.
But
should others be helping him? Yes, they should. It's a team. It's a team, isn't it? And it just frustrates the life out of me, the grief that lad gets on social media. It just frustrates me.
That's why I did that.
But he's made the grade, and he's in illustrious company. You can. There's only one other player who's done what he's done this season pre-Christmas, and that's Anelka. So it's all levels.
That is not a bad bloody stat to have, is it?
He's Anyway, let's.
The thing is with Dion as well. He isn't just a goal scorer. If you're watching him just putting the ball in the back of the net, which he does, in my opinion, a good job of as well. Yeah. He offers a lot more than that off the ball. His pressing is absolutely
relentless. Yeah.
If you just take the time, and I don't know whether these people on Twitter and stuff, whether they even see or even watch the games in their entirety, live or not. But if you took the time and the effort to actually go to a game and watch Dion Charles the whole 75 or 90 minutes that he plays, he'd be an absolute nightmare to play against if you're a defender. Nightmare. Even if he doesn't score. Because he's creating opportunities for the people to get hold of the ball and create stuff.
I'm liking Andy's comments today. Thank you for your contribution, Andy. I think, but yeah,
spot on that. Yeah,
nail on the head. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, and that's in poor form by his own admission and knowing what he's capable of. He's, get off his case.
So 1 in 5 is less than Danny Ward scored in Championship for.
Well, there you go. Get him on. Get him in.
Sign him.
That answers that, doesn't it?
Just to close on Danny Ward, he's out of contract in the summer, so there's probably going to be a small fee involved. So probably something comparable, I imagine, with what we paid for Dion, which was just over 300 grand. Which, unfortunately, Mark, I'm a nerd. I am a stat man, and a couple of us are members of the Supporters Trust. Mark, I ain't got a clue, mate. I don't know what the commercial split is with Parking Eye and the club or whatever it might be. So I wasn't ignoring your question. I just wanted an opportune moment to flash it up. And I think this is a good one as we're talking about potential transfer activity in January. Not gossip, activity in January.
I tell you what will go towards January transfers. Our good run in the Papa John's, because that does generate a lot of money. So despite the fact that it is a poor tournament in the sense that you have to pathetically play Premier League under 21s, which are the games that I'd refuse to go to for that reason, it should be a competition for League One and League Two clubs, simple as that, from a revenue point of view. But the money that we're going to gain so far from that competition will almost certainly go towards that pot of money.
I think there's a lot this season.
Fanzone,
the snooker, pink,
rugby,
record sales of the blue away shirt versus any other shirt since we've had in the Premier League. So there's all the commercial gains which comes from the introduction of Sharon and the team, Neil Hart. Can we talk about my opinions on the commercials with regards to the attendance records and very Colin, that's fantastic timing. I think that was another kind of hot topic yesterday, that there was allegedly 19,964 in attendance of the game. In attendance, as in that's what it's announced at, not my understanding of it. I don't think there was nearly 20,000 in that ground yesterday.
No, was there?
No, but
Colin, you have an interesting take on this, which we obviously want to.
Yeah, well, I was discussing it yesterday with my brother. To be honest, I can't actually take the full credit for this. My brother actually mentioned this yesterday, but obviously from a commercial standpoint, if you're looking at figures in terms of attendances, I think that the club we think that the club has taken a hit on certain season ticket sales. So, for example, my season ticket in the North Stand was cheaper to buy with a child's ticket than it was for me to buy an adult ticket on its own.
Yeah.
I've got an 18-month-old boy. Ironically, actually went yesterday. Lasted about 35 minutes, but kind of enjoyed it, I think. It's all both the goals, actually, which was quite good. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how my brother does. My brother's got one for his little lad as well, so that's 2 straight away. I don't know how many people in that North Stand have bought extra season tickets for that reason. But I think the club knew that were going to happen.
Yeah. So
therefore, our season ticket sales are obviously higher. Therefore, our attendance on paper are higher. So from a commercial standpoint, if you're a business that's wanting to get sponsors, then obviously it's going to be more advantageous to sponsor Bolton than it would be Wigan. I've got lesser attendances. And I think that the club have looked at it and decided to take that take on that kind of situation. But also as well, potential of future investment as well. I think it looks good.
I was going to say the same. Yeah, if you're looking to invest.
If you're looking at 18, 19,000, or I think the average has been 17 this season. Again, I'll use the old 17. Whether it has been obviously weekly obviously it's not for what I've just said, but yeah, I think that's a contributing factor towards the increase of season ticket
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, attendances.
And I think as well, just to summarise on that yeah, ultimately, given that, you know, and I'm not going to start digging deep on the whole pyramid piece, but the state of the game and where the game is now is that each and every club, whether it be, you know, non-league, league, whichever league it might be, that they're a business ultimately. And I think that's really important to consider with things like that, and a number of other things as well, for that matter.
The other thing being Mark's point about the car park.
Yeah,
we're not a charity; it's a business. You know, obviously they're going to get monies from people paying to park the cars in and around the stadium.
Yeah,
it's what it is. Don't like it, park on Middlebrook for free. You know.
Yeah. It's
getting a 60 quid fine.
Yeah, there's a big rabbit hole there. I ain't putting it up on a podcast because we're here to talk about football ultimately. But there is definitely a consideration there, and it does impact on signings. It does impact on the growth of the club. Blah blah blah. So no, good point. That thanks, Colin. But there is a question that we ask as we move on now for every guest that we have on the pod.
You are only the second guest, but
yeah, but still, you know, exception, Cole. So, our question to you: the key component parts of a English breakfast or a fry up. What does a fry up look like for you, Colin? Like partridge. Then, sorry about that.
Very Alan Partridge.
Bacon's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
we'll draw a line under bacon as an obvious. Yeah. I'm an advocate of scrambled egg over fried, personally.
Oh, interesting.
Another egg controversy.
Yeah, egg seems to be a bit of it's a real.
I had a sprinkle of spring onion on top of the egg as well.
Oh, he's a posh scrambled egger.
Yeah.
Where are you from, Colin?
Just almost like a bit of spring onion on top of my eggs. And anyway. And then alongside that, I would have obviously beans. But my missus, when we first got together, she said, "Put my beans separate." I was like,
"Oh no!"
So I did the cooking, and bear in mind this was like 7 years ago now, but I've been doing it ever since. She said, "Do me beans separate," and I was like, "What are you on about?" So she asked for the beans to be in a pot separately on the plate because she doesn't want the juices all over the food. And I was like, a bit weird. But anyway, I've embraced that, so I have my beans in a separate pot, and obviously
you have a ramekin, Colin. Bloody hell!
Yeah, Are you glad you asked me this question? No,
I've opened up a can of lemon worms here, Anna. Well, don't you feel that there are many dry components on an English breakfast that you can use as a breakwater for beans?
Yeah, sausages. You have a sausage wall.
I'm not saying that you don't have any juice at all to complement them that scenario that you put in me in. But obviously you've got an element of juice in the pot already, so you can obviously still dip in and eat and moist up your food in that way. And you can eat your beans separately as well, and they stay warm for longer as well, because if you notice, beans go cold quite quick.
I'm having this all day long. So, ladies and gentlemen, consider yourself educated. I hope you can take something away from this in terms of the key components of your next fry up. And that in itself has been open to debate. Should it be called a fry up?
Well, no, because actually I do a percentage of our fry ups in the oven actually. So oven up.
So
and if you're honest with the cost of living crisis, you should be doing your fry ups in an air fryer if you've invested in one of them.
Or a slow cooker, yeah.
Or a slow cooker, yeah. So you could call them a slow cooker up.
An air fry up.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, you shouldn't have asked me that.
No, but no. We dedicated to it, Colin. We dedicated to that question and the search and the quest for the ultimate English breakfast. And on that bombshell, I think we're in a position where we should be wrapping up. Obviously, there's a small matter of bit of a game of football in about an hour and 10 minutes. Will you be watching?
Absolutely.
Angela?
Of course. Yes. Come on the Archies.
Yeah, I'm all for Lionel Messi winning the World Cup. I really hope he does, because I think, personally, I think he's the greatest footballer of all time.
Were you born when they declared war against us?
No, and that's why I'm not really asked, because I weren't born. So that's why. And my dad's always telling me this, that, and the other about Falklands and all that, and I'm like, I'll be honest with you, man.
No, it's football at the end of the day. It shouldn't be politically motivated at the end. I do tend to agree, after being dumped out by the French in the way that we were. It wasn't their fault that the referee decided to
be blind that day.
Yeah,
our time will come. Don't worry.
Yeah. But I think given his career and what he's done for the game, that I think it would be fitting, wouldn't it, for him?
The memories of watching him play over the years, albeit on telly, apart from once, I saw him live once. He's just phenomenal, absolutely, and he proved that the other day when he took on arguably the best fullback in the competition, who's probably 15 years younger than him, and he put him on toast. So it's just
we're not going back on fry-ups again, are we, Colt? No.
Do you have toast? Fried bread?
Yeah. Toast, yeah. And I make sure as well, with regards to fry-up, we do Aldi and Tesco split shop. Right. I get my butter from Aldi, because Aldi do this butter with like a little bit of salt in it, and it's absolutely spot on. So I'll use that butter on my fry-ups as well, because then I don't have to add extra salt, because too much salt.
Other retail outlets are available.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
Right. Well, on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining. Thank you for all those who've contributed with your questions. Excellent. Really, really added to the debate today. So thank you very much. Join us again. We'll
back after the derby match. Yeah.
So next home game is the next
massive game. That
massive
game.
Huge.
We got, Derby.
Excuse me.
Big month. January, big month.
Yeah.
Tough month.
And we're hitting form just at the right time.
It'll be tough for them, Ange. Not for us.
Oh, that's right. You're right there, Colin. Tough for them.
Very. So
they're looking at us thinking, Christ, we've got to go Bolton.
Yeah. Especially after the first half yesterday. Bloody hell. Anyway, thank you, guys. Angela, thank you very much, as always. Colin, thank you for stepping into the breach. Fantastic.
Anytime.
And we'll see you all soon. And in the meantime, have a fantastic Christmas. And,
Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas and that. And we'll catch you post-derby.
Yeah. Come on, you whites.
Over and out.